In this module, we'll walk through exporting graphs and tables out of the ChAS browser in a Word or Docs format. Previous versions of ChAS, you were able to export the tables and graphs in a PDF format. This is still available. There is a tutorial on how to export graphs and tables in the PDF format available at the link seen here on the Affymetrix website. The docs format allows the export to be more flexible, so I can export multiple graphs and tables at the same time, as well as it makes it easier for cutting and pasting of this information into your organization's templates. It is the reporting out in this new docs format is also more streamlined, as it allows for a paragraph style option for the segments table, and we'll walk through that, as well as little things like automatic output file naming. So instead of having to type the long CHIP file name, which you may have been doing before, it now will automatically name the report the same name as the CHIP file name. Okay, so let's go ahead and export some of these tables and graphs. So here we are in the browser using our constitutional blood sample that we used in the querying ChAS database example. And so just as a reminder, if it's been a while since you've watched that video, if I right click on the file name and go to View Edit Properties, and under Sample Properties, you can see where I added the sample interpretation of microdeletion 22q11.2. This is important because this is not only now captured in the database as the sample level interpretation, but will also be propagated into the report. So I say OK. Now I can go up here to Reports, and as I mentioned before, the PDF format is still available for any of the windows or tables that it was previously, so you can still use that. But we now have this new option to do exporting reports in a Word format. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. We get a dialog box, and we can now choose any from these available reports. These were the views that I had selected previously, so they're maintained. If you use the same views over and over again, for instance the Carrier view segments table and sample and QC information, you don't have to add that each time. These options are maintained from the last time ChAS was used or the last time the report was exported. You can then also change the order by highlighting and choosing up, and so now when I export, my report will show Carrier view, sample QC information, and then the segments table. Here's the interpretation that I had that we just went through under the sample level interpretation. I have the option to add to an existing report, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to make a brand new report. I am going to convert the paragraph style for the segments table so that we can see what that new option looks like. So I will select that. And as soon as I select File, the file name now matches the CHIP file name. And so I did export one previously, which is the segments table in the table format, and we're going to be exporting the segments table in the paragraph style format so that we can see the difference and the benefits of one over the other. I'm going to click Save, and I'm going to choose to auto launch this report, and I click OK. Here's my report. I have the analysis information at the top, which will be the filters that I've used, the reference model file that I used, if I used any sort of smoothing and joining. And then I get down to the views that I wanted to export. So I have the Carrier view, the sample info and QC report. So here's my QC information. And the segment report in paragraph style. So we have our array nomenclature summarized here at the top, and now each segment has the information in a paragraph style as opposed to a table style. So let me quickly go back to the table style, because this is what you'd be used to if you've used the PDF reports previously. That here's what the table format looks like. And it can be difficult to read if you have a lot of columns, and especially it can make the report quite long when you get into large aberrations that might be overlapping several genes. So for instance, here is an LOH segment on chromosome 22 that is quite long and covers many genes. And so that one segment can expand the report to many, many pages. Whereas the paragraph style helps in this situation to minimize the report being pages and pages, because the genes will now be listed out horizontally. So it's just a new option to keep in mind in this new format. So here's a better example of a long list that would cause, in a table format, would cause the report to extend by a couple pages, but here in the paragraph style, nice easy copy and paste to put in your organization's template. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close these reports and go back. Another new option in the reporting is to be able to export the detail view as a snapshot and quickly add it to this report. So for instance, if you like to add a screenshot of all reportable segments from the detail view in your report, you can now quickly do that by, let's go ahead, I'm going to double click on this segment. And say for instance, we'll get rid of LOH. Say for instance, I want to capture this information, including the histograms, to add to my report. I can now quickly just choose this DOCX icon over here to the far right. It will ask me where I want to add it to. I can either just type in a new file name if I want to have this as a standalone, or I can say, add it to this report and click Save. And it's letting me know I'm going to be adding it to an existing file. Yes, I know that. Thank you. Okay, so since I wasn't sure, I'm also going to add this segment as well. And now I want to add it to the same file. Yes, I'm sure I want to add that. So now let's minimize and go back to that report. And double click on that and see that those two exports of the detail view have now been appended onto the bottom of this report. So there we go. There's the location as well as those two reports that I want to add, or those two detail views that I want to add to my report because I found them to be clinically relevant. In order to use that function, the report does have to be closed, but that's a function of Word, and so just as a safety precaution, the document does have to be closed before you can append anything onto it. Another new feature is that you'll see in the footer the name of the CHIP file, so that if you are printing out reports that are multiple pages, now you will have the CHIP file name appended to the bottom of each page so that you know which sample those go to. So that quick reference button is also available for the segments view, the segments intersections table. So if I right click on this segment, say query ChAS DB, you'll see this docs button here, so that if you wanted to, you can also show your segment and the relevance that you've seen in the other segments in your database, so you can capture that as well. So the docs button is also a quick reference on any of the screens as well. For instance here, this table, or you'll see it in the segments view or the cyto regions for quick exporting, just like you had with the PDF format. So some of the enhancements that we've done to reports is to make it more flexible and more streamlined so that you can choose multiple reports at one time as opposed to having to do one at a time. Appending the file name at the bottom, as well as having the automatic launch and the automatic naming of the CHIP file. If you prefer to go back to review how the PDF reports are done, please go ahead and, as I showed earlier on our website, on the tutorials page, the training page of tutorials under ChAS, you can see the PDF reporting options, as those haven't changed since ChAS 1.2. Thank you.